Hello, welcome to Kaiba Health and Life. I'm your host, Kristen Wolosinovich, here with my beautiful co-host, Lisa Metropolis.
Hi, Kristen. How are you? I'm so excited today.
Are you kidding me?
I know.
So exciting to have Dr. Bobby McCummellaw in the hot seat. Hello, sir. How are you?
Greetings. Fine, thanks. Yourself?
We're better now,
Yes.
aren't we, Lisa?
We're always better when Dr. Bobby's
Well, thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
You guys are always so kind.
Well, Dr. Bobby, you've been a dear friend of the show for some time, and as always, so gracious to come in and be a guest. And, you know, you are an ENT,
Yeah.
also known as...
Otorhinolaryngology.
Did you get that,
I
Lisa?
did.
Rolls off your tongue.
It does. Kind of a fan. When you were picking your specialty, did you want to go for something that was, you know, really
Yeah,
kind
had
of
a little
fancy?
flash, you know, a lot of, you know, Latin terms in the name, right? Yeah.
I
It's so
knew-
much better than proctologist.
Right. Yeah. There you
Or
go.
gastroenterologist, you know, when you're kind of picking that specialty.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
wanted
sure
to
that
sort of
had a lot
be
to
from
do with
here
it.
up. Yeah. I didn't want to deal with anything
Yeah.
below the neck.
Well, on a serious note, had you always been passionate
Yeah.
about ear, nose, and throat? How did you pick that specialty?
It's a good question. So towards the end of my third year of medical school, which is usually when you pick your specialty
Okay.
after rotating through a bunch of things, I thought I wanted to be a heart surgeon. And so
Okay.
I did all my rotations in cardiac surgery, and in fact had a Dr. Greenfield, who's well known in vascular surgery, do my recommendation letter. And then I did a 1-month rotation in ENT, and I completely changed my mind because it was cool and everything was so intricate and small, and you know, you're dealing with hearing bones, ear
Right.
bones that are like 2-3 millimeters. Just the finesse of it was cool. So that's when I decided to change gears and switch to ENT.
Well, so 30 days. It took you 30 days to change after 3 years.
After 3 years
wow,
of going in
that's-
one direction.
That's
yeah.
really interesting.
But it's just, it goes to show you that if you don't experience something, then
Right.
you're blind to it and you have no idea that it's
Right.
an option.
You know, and last week was Teacher Appreciation Day, and I was looking on social media, and one person or a teacher can really change or influence a decision and impact your life. So it sounds like that
For sure, absolutely.
had massive
yep, yep.
influence.
In fact, this Friday I'm going up to my alma mater, Powers Catholic High School, to give lunch to my old teachers.
Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
that's
Yep, We're going to have the
wonderful.
Vehicle City taco truck out there and serve tacos to teachers.
Tacos to teachers.
Yeah,
You know,
it just rolls off your tongue.
this is why we love Dr. Bobby, because you give back, you give so much back to the community that has given you so much.
Yeah.
The city of Flint. It's so important to you.
I will owe more than I could ever give, but I'll keep working on it.
Well, we're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
And Lisa also, you know, besides being that fancy title,
Right, yeah.
the ENT,
Yeah.
he also is the new president-elect for the Michigan State
I know.
Medical Society. Congratulations,
Thank you.
sir.
Yeah.
That
Thank you.
news was just announced
It was.
last week. And tell us a little bit about your journey with the society.
Yeah, so the Michigan State Medical Society, I've been a member since I started my practice 19 years ago. And the purpose was, I mean, you know how complicated it is to practice medicine, and even on the patient side, let alone the physician side. You know, you perform a service, you bill an insurance company, then anyone that does medical billing knows how often you get a rejection, right?
Right,
Where they
yeah.
don't pay you, they say, you know, that we're rejecting the claim for some odd reason. And so after doing that for the first few months of my practice, I thought, well, this is crazy. I'm gonna go to law school, get my law degree, and then sue the insurance companies in small claims court for each of these denials. I thought
Right.
that was my brilliant idea.
That,
And
that
obviously
was
not
going
so
to be a
brilliant.
trend.
Yes.
Yeah, and so somebody wisely sort of counseled me and said, no, don't do that. Join the Michigan State Medical Society. They take care of all these things. They're the ones that can meet with Blue Cross Blue Shield or
Right.
any of these insurance companies and sort of solve that problem for you. You can keep cleaning out earwax and do what you love doing. Don't worry about going to law school. So that's when I joined. That was 19 years ago, and have been involved ever since, and just finished 3 years as chair of the board of the Michigan State Medical Society, and then decided to run for president-elect, and they elected me.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's an incredible feat for you, for the city of Flint. We're so proud, and it's so great
Thank
to
you.
have someone representing the community here for so many reasons.
Thank you very much. It is definitely an honor, and I hope to do physicians in the state proud.
Well, and like you said, a lot of the objectives is dealing with insurance companies and policy. And
Yes.
we've seen this huge paradigm shift where you especially see it. You're seeing this healthcare being being navigated, being dictated by the insurance companies. It's a
For
big
sure.
fight.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we're so focused on right now is just the whole concept of prior authorization.
Right.
And just this idea that, like I saw, a dozen patients in my office this morning, ordered a few CAT scans of the sinuses because when people come to see me because they can't breathe through their nose or they're
Yeah.
blowing green
You
snot
have no idea.
and they've been on 10 different antibiotics, then it's time to sort of get a CAT scan to look at their sinuses and see whether or not they have some blockage, something that's causing them to get more sick than usual. And ideally, you would say, okay, well, patient comes in, they tell me what's wrong with them. After a conversation, we decide we need to order a CAT scan. We should be able to order the CAT scan and get it done and
Right.
get the result.
It's been standard protocol.
Yeah, but not anymore, right? So
Right,
now
right.
we have to have my office staff then, so to send the patient home and then work on getting prior authorization for that CAT scan. And, sometimes it takes, 5-10 minutes on computers online, and sometimes
Right.
it's conversations back and forth with an insurance company. And meanwhile, the patient's waiting. And this is the kind of thing that we get approved in our office 95% of the time, right? So
Right.
every office in the country goes through this to catch 5% of people who it doesn't get approved on the first time, but gets approved eventually,
Right. and
another
it has to keep
3-4%
going
of the time.
through. Right.
So that exactly, I would think, would be on the agenda
Absolutely.
for the
Right, so this is a
Michigan
problem we're
State.
trying to solve.
Yes,
Yep, yep.
absolutely. I will tell you, I was in line the other day at a pharmacy, and a gentleman in front of me was getting meds that he had been on for 6 years. His insurance company had been the same, and I believe it was automotive based, which provides very high-end insurance insurance premiums and coverage. And the pharmacist said, "I'm sorry, this isn't covered."
Right.
And he said, "What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I've been
Right.
on these
For
meds for
years.
6
For
years."
years.
Oh, okay. No, it's covered, but now it's only one a day. He said, "I've been taking it twice a day for 2 years."
Right.
Yep.
And those are the conversations I'm sure you're dealing with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
It's bureaucratic and it's tough.
Right. And it's the problem is it's sort of, it's the people in the office in a high-rise building
Yeah.
in the city that are making these decisions, and there's no patient there, right?
There's no
And-
emotional connection.
Right, and so this guy at the
whatsoever.
pharmacy, what's his relief? He's got to, talk to the doctor, and the doctor's got to call the insurance company, or he tries to call the insurance company. Those are hours spent dealing with issues that we
Hours,
shouldn't have
yeah.
to spend, and to catch a fraction of a percent of the people that are abusing the system.
Right, 5%, right?
And,
Exactly.
and not even that. I mean, it's probably even less than 1% that eventually sort of get it denied flat out because they're ordering it for the wrong reason or there's a
Right.
better
Right.
test. So to catch the 1%, 99% of everybody else have to go through this extra hoop.
Right.
That's why we're so excited. You're going to be the president.
Dr.
We will
Bobby,
try to solve the problem.
I had to say, I met you 10 years ago. I remember sitting down with you at a round table 10 years ago, and it was some people in the community. At the time, I owned a business and being self-employed, dealing with insurance then, and we had discussed preventative
Yes.
care.
Yep.
That was the big thing that we were discussing. Have you seen it in the last 10 years? Because we specifically talked about it here in the community, and I know that so there are so many more resources now than there were 10 years ago, especially here.
For sure.
Have you seen preventative care? Have you seen that?
An uptick.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's it certainly is more part of the conversation now.
Right.
It won't ever really be a major effort until people's premiums change because of it, right? Meaning that, let's say, for example, so yesterday the Crim Fitness Foundation started their training groups, right? So for the race in August. So how smart would it be to say, okay, if you're training for the Crim and you're running, 5 to 10 miles a week prior to August, you're obviously getting healthier.
Right.
Shouldn't that translate to a reduction in your insurance premium?
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's where prevention can be monetized to actually decrease the cost out of pocket.
Right.
Until that happens, it's really just prevention because it feels good to do it. It's the right thing to do.
For yourself.
But the incentive isn't there as much as if it actually, because they're going to be saving money on me if I'm healthier.
That's right.
And so there should be a reduction in premium.
And that's a good question. And I think that, like you said, they've made some small progress, probably among the bigger corporations where they do give them incentive. If you did join the Crim group, we'll give you some discount off your larger,
And those are the sort
corporations.
of and those are huge companies that sort of self-insure,
Right.
where the company themselves is paying the bill
And they're
for all their
benefiting.
medical
All the
care,
medical-
right?
That's
and so
right.
because it's, not a generic sort of Blue Cross card that I have that I'm buying directly from the insurance company, but my employer is actually paying for that,
Right.
All the cost. The employer has the ability to create sort of novel programs like this to sort of keep their employee base healthier and then reward them for those healthy habits.
That's right. That's exactly right. We had Pete Levine, who is head of the local Genesee County Medical Society.
Yeah.
And we had discussed the same topic about insurance companies and some of the frustrations. And one thing he had mentioned is, now it's also transitioning from patients because now they're becoming clients or customers because now they're purchasing their own insurance company.
Right.
Yep.
And it's hard because it's so convoluted. I mean, here's your book. Go through your book and pick your insurance company.
I know. I mean, the most illustrating stories that I hear are physicians that end up on the patient side of things, and then they, you would think that they know how to work this system
Or navigate.
and navigate the system, but then they end up on the patient side of things, and then they're trying to deal with they go into the hospital for half a day or a day, and then they end up getting bills from everybody and their mother, from every provider that saw them, the hospital system, lab tests, X-rays, and then trying to sort of navigate. Okay, well, what is it that my plan is supposed to pay for? And deductible issues and things like that. I mean, it's such a convoluted system that even those that are supposed to be expert in it find themselves sort of lost on the patient side. And it just needs to be simplified. The language.
It needs to be simplified because as a physician, you are busy. You are a busy man. So you too have to then take time out of your day to kind of figure out what's going on. And I think that's the biggest issue. We're all so busy. And now it's not a simple fix, Dr. Bobby. It is, we know it's going to be an hour to 2 hour. It's going to be a half a day.
On the phone with somebody trying to navigate, right? And I mean, and this is, if I struggle with it and it takes me an hour, what is the ability of somebody who, is doing manual labor for $10 an hour, that has insurance but has never navigated that, doesn't know the terms even, and the language of the contract, and what counts as prevention, what counts as treatment, lab tests, things like that. They have zero ability to do it. So what's a 1 hour job for me ends up being a week-long
That's exactly right.
probable failure for that person to take
And extreme frustration. And what you're seeing too, like even with the pharmacists, they become extremely desensitized.
Sure.
They're like, okay, thank you, next, because it becomes a commodity. So we're excited for you to fix all these problems,
we're
Dr.
so
Bobby.
excited for you to fix
wow.
everything.
They will definitely
You
get
jumped
my
right
attention.
into that president-elect position.
There's
Very good.
A lot of work to be done, and I will do my best.
Yeah, but you know what? You speak for the people, and you have empathy and kindness, and you get it. So we couldn't think of a better person to hold
not
that.
At all.
Well,
not at all.
thank you very much.
So as an ENT, ear, nose, and throat, we're coming into spring, and we're coming into allergy season. And I will tell you, I've already been getting the pressure and the sinus headaches.
Yep, myself
I see
included.
it every day. Yep. I mean, it's what happens is stuff is pollinating, stuff is blooming. That stuff ends up on your nasal lining, and if you have allergies, when that happens, you release histamine, which is sort of the most potent sort of thing that causes your nose to run and your nose to stuff up and your eyes to itch and all that. And so then the consequence of that is that the lining swells, the sinuses then get blocked because they're sort of narrow passages anyway that open into the sinus cavity. I mean, when that swells shut, mucus gets trapped in there, and stagnant mucus is just waiting for bacteria, and then the infection sets in, right? So the infection is sort of a consequence of the allergic inflammation. So if you just take the antibiotic, sure, you'll get over that infection. But I tell people it's like a stagnant pool of water.
Right.
You can put a bunch of chlorine in it and kill whatever's there right now. And then you go back a month later and it's just as green as it was before because it's stagnant. And so the solution is to try to decrease the inflammation, get the passages open so the mucus can sort of recirculate and drain out instead of staying stagnant, getting infected. Of course, much easier, to say than to do.
How would one do that? How would you do that?
So if it's truly allergic and it's pretty clear that every time stuff starts blooming or every time I'm around a dog or dust that this happens, then the preventative way. So again, not the antibiotic after the horse got out of the barn, locking the barn door isn't going to do any good, right? So we got to keep the horse in the barn by controlling the allergic inflammation. So at a minimum, the first thing to try if the symptoms are nasal are nasal steroid sprays, and the brand names are things like Flonase, Nasonex, Nasacort. They used to be prescription, but they're so safe that they went to over-the-counter probably in the past decade or so.
So does that help with headaches as well? Because I'm feeling pressure and barometric pressure, headaches.
Yep. And so the headaches come because the sinus openings get blocked, pressure builds up. So now you've got this air pocket that doesn't equalize pressure, kind of like when you go on an airplane, your ears don't pop. So you've got air in here that isn't the same pressure as the air out there, and then you feel that.
Okay.
So the solution is to sort of get the air flowing by decongesting the nose. So, to start with a nasal spray, and if that doesn't work, then you would add, an antihistamine like Claritin, Allegra, Zyrtec. If that still doesn't work, then you get allergy testing.
With a D in it?
So it depends
like
on if
the
you can
D a
tolerate
lot.
it.
Yeah.
So
Dr.
if
Bobby.
so if you don't have blood pressure or heart issues and your heart doesn't race when you take it, the D is actually more effective because it decongests. That's what the D is a decongestant. But like I saw somebody in my office earlier this morning that had to stop it because they're 65 years old and they have a heart condition and their heart races, and the cardiologist said no, not a good idea. So then they go to the non-D form to basically decrease the allergic inflammation but not decongest. And it's not as effective, but it's safer for them.
It can work. Dr. Bobby, I have, I know a lot of people like to do holistic type of medicines. And the neti pot is a really big tool. It's to use.
Absolutely.
And that I have one, and I use that, and I use saline and warm water. And it works.
Great.
It works
absolutely.
wonderful.
So everybody that comes to my office that ends up, having a blockage of their sinuses where we have to go and unblock that, they all get recommendations to use nasal irrigation. Neti pot is one brand, but there's other ones also to basically wash out the nose so that the mucus isn't sitting there stagnant. Because now we've opened up their sinus cavities. It doesn't mean that snot won't build up in there, and so it still has to be washed out. So I tell them that the solution to pollution is dilution. Right, so they're rinsing out the nose.
But he has copywrote that, so please don't use
that
as a tagline. Look at Lisa. I'm like, hey, can we get the D? And Lisa's like, I really want a holistic approach. But no, we like to combine the best of Eastern and the best of Western medicine for sure. But that's a great question. And it also leads me to why we have Dr. Bobby on the show, so we can get our free medical advice, and we don't have to bill our, insurance company.
Right.
But that also bodes the same, whether it's allergies, but also, I know you have patients that come in and they can't hear and they're frightened and it's scary.
Right.
And a lot of times it's just
simple.
It's simple.
I mean, so every day in the office, I see at least 2 or 3 people that come in that exact sort of panic scenario, like, oh my gosh, 2 days ago, all of a sudden something happened and I can't hear anymore. And majority of the time, it's earwax, which is
Isn't that crazy?
It's simple, but it's so rewarding because literally in 60 seconds you clean out that earwax and it's like flipping a switch, and all of a sudden they can hear everything.
Yeah, it to me, I get frightened sometimes, like when you're swimming and your ear,
And
you're like, what's going on? It's very frightening. So Dr. Bobby McCullough, we can't wait to have you back on the show. Congratulations, President-elect. When does that term officially start?
So I'm President-elect now, and then I become president a year from a few days ago.
Okay.
So at the next meeting of the Michigan State Medical Society, I will be inaugurated.
Wonderful.
We want to be there or celebrate. And then how long does that last?
It's a 1-year term.
It's a 1-year
and
term.
And that's when I sort of, go on the road and talk to patients, groups, insurance companies, hospitals, other physicians, sort of trying to solve the problems that we talked about.
Excellent. And you oversee the entire state of Michigan, the Michigan State Medical Society. How many sub-counties fall within that?
Yep. So pretty much every county in Michigan has representation there.
Okay.
And sometimes they're not very populated, and there may not be a physician in a county in the Upper Peninsula. But so the Upper Peninsula has, one physician that they put on the board.
Okay.
For example, our county has 2 physicians on the board of the Michigan State Medical Society. It depends on population. So Wayne County,
good.
Oakland County would have more.
Good. Well, how exciting. And we, as always, love having you on the show.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for all the work that you do, not only within the medical society, but for the city of Flint and the community. And we really could never repay you. You're amazing. So
I get repaid every time I see somebody that enjoys living here.
And it's, real quickly, they did an article on you on MLive and, announcing your new position, but there were pictures of you over the years with, some watershed moments. How was that for you to watch?
That was neat. I didn't notice it at first, and then I clicked on the picture, and then all these other pictures came up.
Right.
And so they dug pretty deep to find all these pictures, but it was neat. I mean, just moments going back to when Clarissa Shields was trying to raise money to go to the Olympics, and we had a fundraiser for her at one of our restaurants in downtown. And so 16-year-old Clarissa Shields and I, of course now she's world famous and
Right.
wouldn't know
She's
me
all
from Adam.
over.
But
Oh, please,
it's just
I'm sure.
neat to see that history in pictures.
Well, Dr. Bobby Makamala, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kaiba
Thank you
Health
very
and
much.
Life, we adore you and support all of your work. We can't thank you enough. Lisa Metropolis.
It's always so great to be here, especially with you, Dr. Bobby.
Thank you so
When
much.
when Dr. Bobby's on, Lisa, she wasn't going to be here today. She's like, I said, Dr. Bobby's coming. She said, oh, I'll be right there.
I'll be right there.
I'll be right there. I'll be there early. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
to
you.
our viewers and listeners. This has been Kaiba Health and Life.